Welcome back to my channel, Star Booze.
And praise he merits. It's like unconquered territory. On 9th of August, Freddie Mercury made his debut on the stage for the final time. His physician had advised him not to use his voice. Failing and a fan's life in the crowd would come to an end when Who wishes to live eternity. But the shocking event that followed, everyone from the savage John Deacon's reaction to Mercury's enigmatic disappearance following today's performance, we'd disclose the actual events that took place throughout at Queen's last performance. Freddie Mercury was born on September 5, 1946 in the tiny island of Zanzibar, which was a protectorate of Britain. His parents were understanding and adhered to the religion of Zoroastrianism, which is among the Freddie's religion, is one of the oldest in the world. His birth was unique in a lot of ways. 4 additional teeth at birth and later in life, which he felt gave him a special. His vocal range allowed him to sing in 4 different. He grew up surrounded by African people, Indian and Arab civilizations that impacted his later songs and approach. Freddie's life altered when he was 17, entirely. The revolution in Zanzibar in 1964 became risky for households such as, and they were forced to flee hundreds of. Because of the deaths, his family escaped to England, but prior to that, Freddie's early years in India at the age of 8. His parents enrolled him in a British-style school. St. Peter's is a boarding school located in this Mumbai area school. Punani rose to prominence as it was a significant location for Freddie, that he began referring to himself as Freddie, as well as the place where his affection for. When music started, a teacher noticed his ability and requested that his parents pay more for the music lessons, and this proved to be a Freddie's decision at school that changed his life. Created the Hectics, his first band, They played rock and roll with 4 mates, songs by well-known performers such as Cliff Little Richard Freddie and Richard were just 12. But he's already demonstrated. He had a natural talent for singing and adored Bollywood vocalists such as El Mangeshkar, whose lofty voice served as inspiration for his future performances, even for such a young age. Freddie started combining Indian and Western cultures, impacts a later made. When Freddie's song is played, Queen's Pop's family relocated to England and made their home there. A modest home in Fulham, close to London, was initially difficult, but Freddie was dedicated to pursuing his goals. In 1964, enrolled at Eworth Polytechnic to study art before attending Aing Art. While attending college, Freddie developed his skills in graphic design, and he would subsequently utilize those abilities to produce Queens. Freddie used his well-known emblem to promote himself, performed a variety of odd jobs such as dishwashing. At Heathrow Airport, when Freddie was met Tim Stall, a member of the band Grin with guitarist Brian May, and Roger Taylor. Freddie, a drummer, became friends with them and frequently provided suggestions regarding their 1970 performances when Freddie joined the band as Tim departed with a smile. Their recently hired vocalist, he proposed that the band be dubbed Queen, because it sounded powerful and grand. June marked their debut performance as Queen. At a charity function in 1970, the band still required a bassist, and following a John Deacon was discovered among a small group of. Around this same period in 1971, Freddie also chose to modify his last name to. Mercury's inspiration came from a sentence in he wrote a song called Mother Mercury, and watch what the treatment I received from Queen wasn't, and their debut album was an immediate hit. In 1973, but failed to appear on the UK charts and hardly made it to the top 80th. In the United States, Queen's second album, They Were, released and not greatly improved in 1974. It only hit number 49 in the United Kingdom. The group was irritated But their third album, Finally, The Sheer Heart Attack Transformed, everything featured a song by Killer Queen. That turned out to be their big break. Number 2 in the United Kingdom, and reached, according to Freddie Mercury, number 12 in the US one evening, Killer Queen was seated at. The words came to him from his keyboard, first, which was out of the ordinary for him because he often began with the song's melody, narrated the tale of an elegant high society. What stood out, prostitute, wasn't only the narrative, but Brian May's sound performed a stunning guitar solo with they added 6 P coins as a pick. Sound layers with various, the song's production methods, Queen was well known. Yet it also led to several. Roger Taylor was concerned about a fight in the band that its fun, airy sound may create. Many believe Queen wasn't a serious rock group. Actually, Killer Queen nearly didn't appear on the recorded album. Last, and there was a heated discussion regarding when it comes to whether or not to add it, Bohem Rap CID is a song that was published in 1975. Queen was made during a night at the opera. It wasn't simple to become a superstar. Took 3 weeks to record, with the 180 distinct overdubs and produced at a cost of $40,000, establishing it as the priciest song ever. The song was odd at the time and distinct, consisting of 3 separate parts. Slow, heartfelt start to an opera, the loud rock finale in the middle. Emmy executives were skeptical that it would succeed. They believed it to be far too lengthy and requested that the band turn it off for the radio. Instead, the band's manager declined, gave the song to a well-known DJ in secret. It was played 14 times by Kenny Everett in one weekend, and the song was adored by fans. For 9 weeks, it led the UK charts. Straight, it gained much more traction in 1991. With the death of Freddie Mercury remaining at the top for an additional 5 weeks, it wasn't as large in the US. First coming in at number 9 in 1976, but in 1992, following its usage in the film Wayne's World, rose to the top of the second. It proceeded to sell millions of copies and rose to become one of the most popular Queens. Singles in UK history also evolved. The video for the music video game, Just 4, was used to film Bohemian Rhapsody. Hours and expenses $4,500. Even though it was straightforward, it was pioneering the iconic image of the 4 prism-shaped faces of the band were produced using a technique known as visual. Moreover, it grew famous and it produced songs. Videos are essential for song promotion. Later, Queen continued to produce iconic videos. The musicians in I Want to Break Free were in clothing for ladies that was influenced by The Nation Street, a British soap opera. Despite its boldness and humor, MTV banned it. Meanwhile, Radio Gaga #1 in the US. Among the priciest videos available at the time, pricing $100,000, it included sequences from the Queen paid for the movie Metropolis, $100,000, to use those Queen's clips alone. Live performances were just as amazing as their videos during their evening at the opera in 1975. They used enormous bespoke lighting for the tour. Configuration with 12 aircraft and 168 lights. The landing lights were so enormous that required a generator of its own and took hours to establish by 1986 at their renowned. The lighting system during the Wembley concerts had expanded to over 1,000 lights, which includes enormous crown-shaped structure that weighs 5. The stage presence of Freddie Mercury was amazing. Further changed throughout time when Queen Freddie was initially bashful and frequently stayed when performing, behind his piano, the famous microphone stand he utilized without the. In fact, the lower half was created by one night. By mistake, the microphone stand snapped while performing, But Freddie discovered he enjoyed the independence it provided, and remained with it. His style evolved over time to become more flamboyant. And he started painting his nails black in 1973, motivated by Jimi Hendrix, and began owning eye-catching, glam rock attire Zandra Rhodes created the design in. He wore his well-known Harley Quinn in 1976 jumpsuit, a form-fitting outfit that had to be stitched onto him prior to every performance by the. In the 1980s, Freddie changed once more, and developed a big beard and took on a more masculine, appear with military attire and leather pants, type jackets. This modification was motivated by New York's homosexual club culture, and nevertheless maintained his light-hearted enthusiasm in the she made an appearance in the Want to Break Free video dress, but he still had his mustache, which some were perplexed and agitated. Controversy. Freddie's antics on stage turned into increasingly wilder over time amid the hot tour of Space In. He began riding on shoulders in 1982 of a crewman in a Darth Vader costume in Japan, singing We Will Rock You. At one point, he just wore a pair of shorts at a performance, revealing his cost as the performance progressed, piece by piece, Freddie's charisma and audacious fashion sense. Made Freddie, every performance is unforgettable. Mercury and Queen endured a great deal of 1980s shifts. In 1981, the band used their album Hot to try a different sound. John Deacon and Space Freddie desired to try out some disco and funk tunes, but the song Body wasn't well received by many fans. When Language was released in 1982, it led to more contentious than its lyrics, and at the time, the music videos were too daring, and MTV prohibited it, which displeased viewers. But Freddie continued to experiment with new musical concepts. Freddie's debut solo single was published in 1985. Mr. Bad Guy spent 2 years working on the album. Years spent in Munich observing. Every small detail was included in the record of synthesizers and dance music playing. Freddie even dedicated his artistic side to. This record was written for his pets. In addition to Tom, Oscar, and Tiffany, my cat Jerry, and every cat lover on the planet, it hit the top, so screw everyone else. Hitting in the UK, but performed poorly in the still, the US gave Freddie confidence. Later, in 1987, this tragic event resulted in tighter safety regulations for large-scale performances. In the future, following the Freddie concert, Mercury hurried off the stage, which wasn't the Freddie he usually adored. The festivities of Posto and would remain, speak with the crew, but his hurried away a few seconds after his assistant, Peter, finished the last tune. Later, Freestone clarified that Freddie had previously received a call from his physician. The topic of the broadcast was his health, and it must have been concerned that in addition to the performance's physical exertion, Freddie even left, as if it were weighing on him. Behind his silver wristband, a fragment of. He wore jewelry at every performance since. Later, in 1977, a cleaner discovered it, and it came back to him during the journey back to London. Freddie sat quietly and gazed out, rubbing his eyes with a window handkerchief. He was obviously deeply believed Mercury had a fleeting weakness. He turned to his backstage longtime companion and personal helper. I don't, Peter Freestone muttered. Know if I can accomplish this as well. Roger Taylor recalled a disturbing incident following he discovered Freddie sitting by himself. In Freddie glanced up into the dressing room he said, "Darling, I believe I've given. I gave it everything I had." Roger believed that Freddie was simply exhausted, but now he recognizes Freddie was bidding farewell. Roger maintains that night's drumstick Dananini Nashikin, his studio John. As a reminder of their most recent performance, Deacon, who vanished from view years ago, referred to it as his most difficult performance. Life, he acknowledged that he shed tears during. These are our life's days, because he thought it might be their final encounter. Would perform together for all of thee, and it seemed like an era was coming to an end that night. The life of Freddie Mercury was filled with intense relationship challenges and unexpected events among the most significant individuals. In his Mary Austin's life was about our relationship by means of interviews that he primarily for David W. Freddie, who I met when he was 24 years old in 1969. Mary was 19. They moved in after falling in love right away, joined forces and even became involved. But in 1976, Freddie disclosed his bisexuality to Mary. Mary replied no in a cool, collected manner. "I believe you're gay right now, Freddie." Altered their romantic partnership, but they remained lifelong friends. Mary was always Freddie's one true love companion, and nobody could take her place. Mary was taken care of by Freddie even after they ended their relationship. He gave her a 1980s Kensington flat near his own home when he left after writing his will. Her half of his wealth, which includes his mansion. Mary was there with him when his health deteriorated, and following his death, she concealed the location of his as Freddie desired. The ashes were dispersed. In addition, Freddie had other partnerships. Meet hairdresser Jim Hutton in, and they were together until 1985, the passing of Freddie in. However, Freddie's life wasn't easy in 1991, was also close to an actress from Austria. Barbara Valentine. Together with the trio of, they occasionally spent time together. Freddie frequently had relationships that overlapped. Demonstrating the complexity of his own, Freddie's life was filled with his public image and sexuality persisted throughout his whole life, having been born in 1946. He was raised during a period when being gay was prohibited in many places, and he was aware that enjoyed males since I was a child. But I had to conceal it when others inquired about his sexual orientation, Freddie would quip, or state something ambiguous, such as referring to himself as, it was his method of being as gay as a daffodil. Staying away from the truth while remaining true only was Fun Freddie a musician, but he was an artist who pursued studies in design and art. Whilst attending college and enjoyed drawing he gathered unique and exquisite items over the years, items such as dye and Picasso paintings with woodblock prints from Japan. He also cherished gathering vintage glass and even commissions for his kitties' portraits. His home was brimming with collections and demonstrated his admiration for beauty. Freddie Mercury continued to fight AIDS. He kept it a secret for many years. Majority of his close friends, or even the general public, April friends. He discovered he had HIV in 1987, although some symptoms appeared as early as in 1982, when visiting New York, he visited a physician regarding a spot on his tongue. It could have been a precursor. Despite this mercury, the illness dismissed all of the health-related rumors. The British press prevented him from resting. Tabloids, particularly The Sun, began creating narratives on Mercury's health. These articles from 1986 combined with the anxiety, given the stigma associated with AIDS at that time, probably caused him to remain mute even in. The band Queen hardly ever discussed it. According to guitarist Brian May, they didn't inquire. Inquiries, since Mercury didn't want them to just a select group of his close associates. Peter, his helper, was aware of the facts. Later, Freestone claimed that Mercury had observed AIDS kills a lot of friends, and it was. He was. Constantly thinking about his kitties. He truly would be buddies with them, would give them a call. Mercury desired to defend himself and his loved ones. The day before he passed away, he gave a public explanation of why he keeping it a secret for all those years. Continued to speculate since Mercury appeared gradually becoming weaker and thinner in November 23rd and 3rd. He finally revealed to the public in 1991 that he had A odds, and he died the following day. Put an end to years of rumors and silence. Mercury was extremely ill, but he never ceased performing in 1990. Queen recorded. The band made adjustments to the record Innuendo. In order to assist him, they worked for 3 weeks before taking a 2-week break. Off to allow Mercury to rest, the band was aware. The severity of his illness at that time. According to Brian May, doctors informed them that Mercury had limited time, but Mercury pressed himself to continue working on a tune. The show must go on turned became a representation of resolve. May questioned whether Mercury could manage the difficult vocals. After taking a shot of vodka, Mercury uttered, "Then, I'll do it, sweetheart." Gave a flawless performance in one action upon the completion of Innuendo. Mercury continued to record in May 1991, working on songs such as Mother Love. However, he was unable to complete it. His most recent recording session was May 22nd. He recorded A Winter's Tale in 1991 that featured on the posthumous album, which was produced in heaven despite fighting a deadly illness. Mercury Y put in a lot of effort to leave a lasting legacy. Of music, Freddie Mercury's final public appearance Forever made their appearance on February 18, 1990. At the Brit Awards, Queen was honored. Awarded exceptional service to the British, Mercury appeared quite slender and worn out, which startled admirers, but he nevertheless appeared to come on stage. Brian honors his band and fans. Yes, he came. May gave the majority of the speech. "We had a small group to watch us perform," said Smile, and Freddie arrived to observe, and he was truly passionate and vivacious. Mercury only said thank you and good night. Were his parting remarks in public a straightforward but a heartfelt goodbye in the latter months of Mercury's health deteriorated during his life. Swiftly by June, he spent much of 1991 at home. Close friends in Kensington, West London, and Mary Austin, his former partner, paid him a visit. It frequently took a long time to provide support, for this to truly make me fall in love, but his health deteriorated. Lost his vision, was unable to move much, and was in bed a lot on November 22nd. He stopped taking his medicine. In 1991, aside from pain management that same day, had drafted a statement for the public using Queen's. The comment from manager Jim Beach was published on November 23rd, verifying his Freddie Mercury was diagnosed with AIDS and passed absent on November 24th. The cause of death in 1991 was 45 years old. Was AIDS-related pneumonia. His Jim Hutton, his companion, explained his last Mercury said, "Major moments are peaceful. Appeared serene and beautiful prior to dying. Mercury's songs after his passing only increased in popularity after Queen's 1995 release, Created in Heaven, an album with his final recordings. It became a worldwide sold more than 20 million copies. Mercury's legacy is still thriving today. There are billions of streams for music, and the best-selling album is Queen's Greatest Hits. The voice of Mercury's album in UK history, Enthusiasm, live on, motivating admirers everywhere. The world.